Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today is the follow-up video for the series, Which Hero Should I Be? Today we are covering First Order villains and starting off with BB9E. Very similar to BB8 with these passive abilities, however the three main abilities, Smoke Screen, Shock Spin, and Charge Up, are just a bit different than BB8's. I'll leave that up there so y'all can rate it if you want to pause. The Smoke Screen ability, I don't want to say sucks, but it sucks. My preferred ability for him is Shock Spin. That's why my star cards are based around Shock Spin, because I think he's a very weak hero, or she, or whatever this droid is. I don't know if it's got a gender. Its Shock Probe is just as weak as BB-8's. I don't like BB-8 Shock Probe. I don't like BB-9's Shock Probe. They just don't do a ton of damage, and they don't do consistent damage. It's like shock, then shock, then shock. Like it doesn't consistently shock, shock, shock. I don't enjoy it. But we gotta live with it because it's in the game. His shock spin, however, is pretty good because it will knock enemies back. However, since it's knocking enemies back, it will only temporarily damage them, and then you have to go back towards that enemy you just shocked to finish them off because they got pushed out of your little shock spin damage bubble. So that's a bit of a pain. The right ability, which is the Charge Up, allows all of your teammates around you to no longer build blaster heat, so you can just shoot your gun unlimited. It also allows BB-8, or man, bit of a mess up. It allows BB-9E to permanently use his shock probe, and it won't build that kind of heat either from firing. You can just keep firing it without worry. Now, what I do like about Smokescreen is it does reveal all of the enemies within its radius, and it doesn't just reveal them to you, it reveals them to your teammates as well. So I say it in every video, but BB9E is a very team-based hero, in the sense that it's got that passive ability where it helps allies in the vicinity regain health faster after losing it, and then his abilities are centered around helping his fellow teammates in the area get that little boost that they need, kind of like being an officer, but of course with different abilities. So that is going to be it for BB9E. Not a whole lot to talk about. The last thing I want to mention though is he is small like Yoda and BB-8, so he is a bit of a harder target to hit, and he has quite a bit of health regeneration, especially if you have his bonus star card, which allows you to regenerate an extra 100 health once you have lost it. Major help, and it allows you to get back to the full 600 health very quickly. Alright, now moving on. Our next First Order villain is Captain Phasma. Had to think about that. And we have Staff Strikes, Survivor, and First Order Sentry Droid. Now, the Sentry Droid is going to be the key to Phasma, so I'd put some stock in those star cards that boost her Sentry Droid. Basically, you want to stay within the radius of that. You don't ever want to leave that too far, at least. You may need to step outside every now and then. She also has that passive ability, Health on Elimination, which she didn't used to have. It used to be a Staff Strike. You had to eliminate a player with the Staff Strike, and you also had to have the star card that allowed you to gain health when eliminating a player with a Staff Strike. It was a pain. That card sucked. I hated it. I'm glad they fixed it. Moving on. So, Staff Strikes, it's a decent ability. I stay away from it. Like, I'd rather just melee an enemy or continue shooting because her blaster is amazing, especially if you put star cards that help her blaster build less heat when fired. It is absolutely incredible, and maybe not broken per se, but it is, if you know how to use it, you can become a influential player when using Phasma. Now, her shock turret, whatever, Sentry Droid, whatever it's called, that thing has a little radius, and if you get in that radius as an opponent, as you can see, it shocks that opponent, and you can no longer use anything. You stand still, you can't use abilities, you can't move, so you just stand there for a few seconds. It's really great at eliminating enemy heroes, and it's also like the officer's sentry turret where it will lock on and shoot at enemies. However, it can turn in a complete 360 and shoot from all angles. Now, I prefer the star card that allows it to turn faster because I believe it just turns a little too slow to actually get some good shots and aiming done. The last ability we're going to talk about is Survivor, and that boosts Phasma's health. So she takes less oncoming damage, so she has a higher damage reduction. And she also, gets a little bit of health from it. It's kind of like Yoda's presence ability, where it boosts her health. However, she only boosts herself. She does not boost nearby players. And I think that's going to do it for Phasma. Moving on to our final villain. Now for the final villain, we have Kylo Ren, and he's got 3 abilities, as well as the passive ability, Health on Elimination. His first ability is Pull, second is Frenzy, and third is Freeze. Now, what I like to do as Kylo, since 2 of his abilities are very stationary abilities, and by stationary I mean when you pull someone with his ability, you stand still and you yank them. Now, you're only standing still for a second or two, but you're still standing still. His Freeze ability is the same way. He stands still while he freezes enemies. So if there's any enemies that didn't get freeze that are maybe to the side of him or behind him, they can damage him while he is stuck in place doing that animation. What I like to do is both of his abilities, freeze and pull, can be done while in air. So I like to jump, as you'll see in this clip many times. I jump in midair, sometimes just straight up, and I will skip the animation where he stands still, and it makes me a harder target to hit for those people that are not affected by the ability. I do the same thing with freeze as I will with pull. Now his frenzy attack is quite useful. It breaks through certain lightsaber blocks, I should say, because on repeated occasions I have had people frenzy me and I was blocking. It did not do anything to stop his lightsaber. So the best thing to do is use your dodge when you are playing as Kylo, or not playing as Kylo, but when you're facing Kylo, since he does have that frenzy ability. It will also target when in Supremacy, Galactic Assault, anything where it's just little troopers like this, it targets up to 3 players. You can leap, slash at one, slash at another, and then slash at a third player. Unless it's a heavy, then you slash at that heavy twice and you can hit up to 1 more player. If you're going for 2 heavies, you will need to slice a third, or you'll need to slice for a 4th time with the saber to finish off 2 enemies. That's just the way the health works in the game. It's because the heavies have 200 health. But I think that is going to be it for the First Order villains and the Resistance heroes. We're going to post our next video about the original trilogy heroes, and then after that we will do the villains. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.